Okay, in Jonathan Haidt's TED Talk, he mentions some research on cooperation to support his moral foundations research. In particular, research on public goods games. Now, in a public goods game, individuals are given some money initially, and then they get to choose how much of that money to invest into a pool of money. Now, here's the trick. The pool of money then is going to be multiplied and then distributed back to all players, whether or not they invested, as a return on their investment. And the idea is this pool of money represents a set of resources that could be used to do something in society that would benefit everybody, like the defense of the nation or the military. We make investments through our tax dollars in our roads and bridges that benefit everybody, in our military that benefit everybody. So that's the idea in a public goods games. Individuals are given the choice how much to invest into this, and how much they do invest determines how much they'll get as a return on their investment. Now, at the start of these games, many people start the game by investing, presumably to increase their rate of return. So, if there's more money in the pool, they're going to get more money when it gets multiplied and returned back to them. Or maybe they just think it's the right thing to do or the fair thing to do or whatever. But some don't cooperate early on. So they give nothing to the pool, yet they still get a fraction, right, of the investment back. And when you look at it graphically, here's what the researchers found. Here's percent cooperation, or the cooperation rate. And initially, you'll have a certain percentage of people cooperating, but over time, as you play the game again and again, you get cooperation declining. Right? People are sort of learning that if they don't put money into the pool, they'll still get a return on their non-investment, and pretty soon everybody else kind of sees what's happening there and begins to do the same. Cooperation rate declines. Then the researchers did something interesting. In round 10, they changed the rules. At this stage of the game, they made it so that the players could punish other individuals who were not cooperating, but they had to pay a cost for that. So they had to pay some of their own money in order to punish another individual who was not cooperating. So you might pay $1 in order to have money taken away from some other person who was not contributing to the public funds. And when the option for punishment was provided, you get an increase in cooperation and a maintenance of cooperation at high rates. So from this, researchers argued that the availability and the option for punishment is critical for maintaining cooperation. Without people being vigilant, catching cheaters and punishing cheaters, social cooperation will decline. Only with a punishment system, a system of punishment, vigilance, detecting cheaters, and punishment, can you maintain high levels of cooperation. Now, Haidt argues that this type of research sheds light on the conservative concern for some of those moral foundations that liberals find oppressive. The conservative insight here is that social cooperation is fragile. Social order can easily decay. And so for conservatives, tradition has a wisdom, right? Humans need structure and constraint to flourish. They need certain rules in society. They need to respect authority. They need to defend the group and be loyal to the group, right? They need to treat their body as a temple. They need to obey sort of their elders or people in positions of status and authority. In other words, tradition has a wisdom that prevents the social decay. So the key to maintaining social order is to suppress selfishness, right? And for conservatives, all 5 of those foundations are useful for suppressing selfishness, and that will encourage cooperation, group unity. Now again, the difference then with the liberals is that the liberals would prefer to maintain sort of cooperation and social order with just the 2 foundations, whereas conservatives see value in all 5 of the foundations for creating and maintaining social order and cooperation. This idea of being cooperative, Haidt argues, is something very, very special about humans. Now, in nature, there are other animals that are extremely cooperative, like the social insects, for example. Bees and the ants and so on, the termites. They show complex social systems, and they seem to do all kinds of things together. But in a lot of these insect societies, the individuals are all very genetically related, or there are other factors that are sort of promoting this cooperation. But what's interesting about humans is we have massive cooperation of non-kin, right, of relative strangers. And so we are a very, very cooperative. We are extremely cooperative as a species, yet we're cooperating among non-kin. And that's very, very interesting from the point of view of comparative animal societies. We're an ultra-social species. Now, how do we do that? Haidt argues we do it by having these moral foundations. These moral foundations are the sort of the prescription for how to be an ultra social species, where we cooperate on a massive scale with relative strangers, non-kin. So we have these moral foundations that provide sort of sets of rules and practices and norms, and that are enforced by being vigilant, catching cheaters, and punishing them, and so on. And through our moral foundations, we are able to be this ultra-social species. So in the end, then, Haidt's definition of morality is maybe a little different than in the past with the sort of moral philosophers. Haidt describes it this way. He says, moral systems are interlocking sets of values, virtues, norms, practices, identities, institutions, technologies, and evolved psychological mechanisms that work together to suppress or regulate self-interest and make cooperative societies possible. Notice, Haidt is defining morality by what it does, not the content of the moral beliefs. Morality is not just about harm or fairness. Morality is about binding people together into these cooperative groups, right? So that's the key. And once you sort of understand that notion, then you begin to highlight some interesting differences between political groups in societies. Again, conservatives tend to endorse those 5 moral foundations. They all can play a role in serving this end of maintaining social order and cooperation, whereas liberals tend to endorse just the 2 because they're concerned that those other 3, the in-group authority and purity foundations, can be oppressive at times.